Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, David, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Kurt. That was, I think, the Oilers' 4-3 victory over the St. Louis Blues. The best game I've seen since the Four Nations final.
Yeah, an entertaining hockey game. Back and forth, two teams that really looked like they wanted it. Came down to the last seconds. Some good saves by both goaltenders. There were 12 to 15 interesting things in this game. Lots of grit from both sides. And the home fans will go home happy.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking before we came on, and you talked about how the NHL has been out of sync since the Four Nations. I don't know about that, but I think the Oilers have been out of sync.
Oh yeah,
and they've just, I don't know, they've been going through the motions ever since then, or I don't know what the right word is, but not playing strong team hockey. But tonight they did that.
Yeah, I really thought they dug in tonight. I mean, their talented players were talented and did talented things. Their role players chipped in and I thought were hard on pucks and were winning puck races. And if I could speak to what you said about, their play over the last month, I think that's the one thing I've noticed. There haven't been enough puck battles won and enough races to lose pucks won. And I saw them on the good side of both of those things tonight.
Yeah. Alrighty. Kurt, two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. What is your good thing?
Well, my good thing comes out of a bad thing. The Oilers were already shorthanded, down a skater because Nugent Hopkins was sick. Well, sounds like Jake Wallman caught the same thing because he couldn't go either. When it rains, It pours. Hey, man, it's get a warm body and put him out in the ice. Noah Phillip is up on an emergency call up, and he he didn't even round out the whole lineup. But of course, the blessing was Connor McDavid coming back in. But with Wallman out, to the point of my good thing, it really forced the Oilers, first of all, to go with five forwards. And Paul Coffey particularly leaned on three guys. He leaned on three veteran D-men who, I gotta say, rewarded their coaching staff with solid damn hockey games. When you look at the time on ice, Darnell Nurse, 28.06. Nurse had 2 assists. He was +3. Evan Bouchard, 33 shifts for Bouchard tonight. He played 28-15, was miles more together defensively than he was the other nights. Like, talk about Jekyll and Hyde. Earned an assist. And then Brett Kulak just skated miles, man. He played almost literally half the hockey game, 29.04, and had 5 shots on net. And when you look at the possession numbers, all three of those guys had great games as well, particularly Kulak, who had a 5x5 CF of 64%, 27-15, and the high dangers for Kulak, 5x5, according to Natural Stat Trick, were 4-1, and for Bouchard, 7-1, and for Nurse, 8-1. So when you get that kind of performance from your three veteran D-man, you're going to win a hockey game like this. And as marvelous as Connor McDavid was, and I know you're going to talk about that in a second, they don't win that game unless these three D-men step up, log the extra minutes they do, and perform the way they did. I was really impressed.
I'm just looking for one thing here. There was 2 plays in particular. 3 plays, 2 breakaways that St. Louis had. Who got in behind Bouchard? I think it might have been Kyrou. Anyway, he broke in, and Bouchard made a really hard play on him just before he got off the shot. And I thought initially it was a penalty, but on the replay, I think he got stick on stick, and it affected the shot quite a bit. It was still a dangerous shot, but That was big. And then Nurse did the same thing just before the Oilers got their winning goal. He came and I think it was what's that guy's name that broke in? Is it the former Australian player Walker? Did he?
Oh,
Is that
Walker. That's the
was?
last minute save where Pickard made the save, but Nurse really helped by getting back and interfering.
Oh, did he ever? So
Yeah.
is Walker that guy that played for the Oilers?
Yes,
The
for like
same
2
guy
games.
from Australia?
It was the waiver claim. Yeah.
Okay. So he broke in and Nurse just got back fast and made a great play. He made an absolutely great play to stop that. And got the puck going in there. He did looked like he was the guy who got beat on the breakaway, but he sure made up for it. About 4.5 minutes left. Bouchard also made a really excellent block in the slot on Jimmy Snuggerud. It was a dangerous moment, and Bouchard got over there and got the defensive play down. I thought this was Bouchard's best game in a long time.
Yeah, I want to point out that pass that Bouchard made to Skinner, that was like a 70-foot pass right on the tape, and Skinner just deked Binnington right out of his jock strap, but then slid the puck just wide. It was a tremendous play, but a fantastic pass by Bouchard.
There was also I was just distracted as you were talking, so I might have missed it when you were saying this or giving your initial spiel on them, but I love the patience that Kulak and Nurse had on Arvidsson's goal, just passing the puck back and forth. And it went to Nurse, and at one point, and he had quite a bit of space, and a younger Darnell Nurse would have definitely drove it on net for a high, easy wrist shot save.
Yep.
But the older Darnell Nurse, who really does look older this year, like this year he's playing in the rocking chair. He's playing really well. He just put it right back to Kulak, who then moved into the middle of the ice and took the outside shot for Arvidsson to score on. So some really great patience there. There was between all those players in a game like this, there were some defensive mistakes, like playing that much and playing against a really strong offensive passing team.
Yeah. That first line of St.
Louis
Louis is super effective, hey?
There's going to be mistakes, and there was.
Yeah.
But like in the last 10 seconds there, I thought Nurse got a little high on the play when it went down low, and the Edmonton kid Jake Neighbors almost tipped it in there. But anyway, no harm done then. My good thing is the play of Connor McDavid and Connor Brown.
The two Connors.
And they were on a line together with Skinner, and it was a good line. Connor Brown, when the Oilers first brought in Connor Brown, there was talk he would play in the top six. He had it some 20-goal years, and he never really. I think after his leg injury, that kind of agility or speed is just not quite there for him to be a top-line player. But he sure looked like one tonight, and he looked like one in the last game too. He's had 2 really good games in a row, and his goals were fantastic. The first one comes on a good passing play where he gets it out to wins it in the corner and gets it out to Skinner, who puts it off the post on a kind of a low-high pass, and Skinner gets off the shot immediately, puts it off the post. Skinner then goes for the rebound, and I think he disturbs the St. Louis player a little bit, and McDavid then takes it off his stick, puts it right to Brown, who slams it home.
Kind of a cool shot.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great. It sure looked like a good goal. Like I don't know how Connor Brown got it through Binnington there, because it didn't look like there was a lot of room, but he slammed it in there.
Yeah.
McDavid was flying from the start of the game. Like he did a spinorama move right early in the game, and he looked really good.
You could hear the oohs and ahs from the crowd on that one. Hey, it was.
He just got faster and faster as the game went on, and he made a really nice a nice puck one and pass over to Brown on the first goal. Then on the other one, he's cycling the puck a little bit, going around the world with it, and he puts it over. Just a very nice pass through a St. Louis player to Darnell Nurse, who takes an outside shot, and we get the Californian, as we call them, these outside shots that get off the rebound, gets put in by Podkolzin. And it was Podkolzin again. He could have been a good thing because he was hitting people all night, and he was rewarded with a goal. I'd love to see Podkolzin get 10 goals. That's kind of a nice minimum number for a forward. So it would be nice if he ends up with that. It'll, help shut up everyone. Something about round numbers that catches our attention. McDavid. I'm just trying to think of the play he made on the. Was he in on the Arvidsson goal? What did he do? He did something on it. I'm trying to think what he did. Oh, he got the penalty. He drew a penalty on the Arvidsson goal, and he made an earlier pass in the sequence. He didn't get an assist, but he made a nice play along the boards to put it back to, I think it was to Kulak.
Yeah.
But that drawn penalty was on him. And then he's, of course, on the winning goal. And that's where Nurse kicks it all off with a great defensive play. Bouchard puts it up to Brown, who smartly gives the puck to Connor McDavid. And McDavid at that point he's one of those, he's just amazing. It was just a number of quick stick handles with the puck as he's keeping his feet moving.
And he's always a magnet, right?
Drawing players to him. And he just gets his feet moving enough. Like there's times when he's cruising with the puck, but then there's a couple quick steps or quick stick handles to be elusive. And the other players, they just, as good as they are, NHL defenders, the best defenders in the world, they can't get it off of him. And because they can't get it off of him, there's a little bit of panic. They start getting drawn to him to get it off of him, right? To try even harder to get it off of him. And what does McDavid do? He threads a perfect pass back into the slot to Connor Brown, who, as quickly as he can, puts, I think it was a backhand shot on net, and hits Binnington in the pad, but goes in, and a great goal. Nice to see Connor Brown this is his 11th goal of the year. So of all the Connor Browns in the world, he's the Connor Browniest. And I've always really liked this player, and I'm glad that he came through, and he will be in the playoff roster.
Oh,
it's gonna be interesting to see. And I'm starting to get a sense. Ryan Rishaug was saying on Strudwick's show today that he thinks the coach has a blind spot on Jeff Skinner, which is a pretty strong statement, from someone close to the team who is pretty careful with his words. And but I don't know if I see that or not, because I actually see I can follow the coach's thinking with Skinner. He has been, until recently, a fairly weak defensive player on the Oilers. It's only been in the last couple of months that he's tightened it up. And he's not on the top power play, and he's not a penalty killer, and you need penalty killers. So it's going to be interesting to see if Skinner finds his way into the playoff roster. I'm starting to think he will. And I don't know and that'll be I think this coach would hate to say Janmark, but I can see that moment coming. Now, Frederick may not be healthy, so it might be a moot point, and they'll both play. But
sounds like everybody will be healthy, though. Yeah. Quickly on Skinner, I agree with that statement that I think the coach has a blind spot. Just like I used to criticize Jay Woodcroft for his failure to use young Dylan Holloway. I do think that Chris Knobloch isn't seeing the whole picture with Jeff Skinner, and I think he'll be sorry if he said something. So I'll say that on Skinner. I'll move that aside. On Brown, I've really come to believe that injury took more out of him than anybody thought it would, including Connor Brown. And you know what? If he hits his stride just as the playoffs are starting, which it appears he is, that'll be a great thing, because he can be a very effective player, in part because he has terrific speed. And I haven't seen him skate better than he has the last couple of games. On McDavid, I thought tonight was a great illustration of how Connor McDavid at 80 and 85% is better than anybody else in the league. I thought at times he looked tentative, particularly in heavy traffic. I thought he was being, in quotes, careful. There was quite a few face-offs he did not take by choice. Jeff Skinner took them instead. And I think McDavid only won one face-off on the night.
He was 3 of 18.
He was 17%. So it was
3 out of 18, Kurt.
Yeah, and that speaks to someone with a core issue, right? And so hey, I'm fine with that. I have no issue with being a little bit careful on your first night back, but boy, if I could be that good when I'm at 80%, I'd be a lot further ahead than I am right now, David. What a player! Yeah.
I do want to ask you a little bit more about Skinner, Kirk, because I'm curious about your opinion, because I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. But do you think he would take? Let's say everyone is healthy. Do you think that they would sit Janmark and go with Skinner? Because I think that's what the choice will come down to.
Are you asking me, will they or should they?
Should they?
Should they? No. That's an easy answer for me. No, they should play Skinner.
Over Janmark. Okay.
Yes, they should certainly, at least to start. I think you can make changes quickly in playoffs because they're really short seasons, right? They're 7-game series. You don't have too much room for error. But I would certainly start with Skinner in the lineup. If you really don't want to put all the offense on McDavid and Draisaitl's shoulders, don't sit out a guy like Skinner who's gifted offensively. I think that would be dumb. Now, if you play him for a couple of games and he doesn't show up, then swap him out, sure. But Matthias Janmark couldn't score a goal right now into an empty net. We've seen that. And, God bless him. People say, well, he's a penalty killer. Well, how good has the Oilers penalty kill been this year? Not very.
Mediocre. Yeah, mediocre.
Right. So I would insert very few people in the lineup on the strength of their penalty killing this year because it's largely been ineffective. Bottom third of the league, right? So that's my take. That's what I think they should do. If you're asking me what I think they will do, I do think that Chris Knobloch will dress Janmark over Skinner. And I think it'll be a mistake, but I can see it coming from a mile away. And if I'm wrong, I'll put up my hand and admit it.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't dress Janmark, I think they have to then go with 2 sets of forwards killing penalties, rotate them, as opposed to 3. And I don't know why you couldn't do that, just have 2. Like, because they get 30 seconds to catch their breath on the bench. They're out there for 30 seconds and then they get 30 seconds and then, you just do it that way. I don't know why. I think the recovery rate on NHL players should be good enough that would be enough to be fresh, to get back on the ice. So you'd have RNH and Henrik, and you'd have Podkolzin and Brown would be your 2 sets of forwards. I don't see another set of penalty killers though. Unless Trent Frederick has never been. He's not a penalty killer.
He killed some in Boston, but it was
not this year.
Not a big part of his game. A guy who has not killed penalties this year, who actually is quite good at it, is Zach Hyman.
Well, they could go with Hyman. Right? He plays a lot though.
Yeah, Hyman and Nugent Hopkins, when Hyman first got here, they were a pretty effective penalty killing team, but they haven't been that for several seasons now. But what I'm saying is he's an option. And in big games,
for sure.
In big games, you're going to use Draisaitl and McDavid on the penalty to kill too. Not a bunch, but a little bit, right? It's a lot of Stanley Cup playoff games. You end up only going with 9 forwards. So
yeah, I think the only thing that keeps Janmark in the lineup for the playoffs, it's not his play this year. It's the high. It's still the coach's memories of him in the playoffs last year, when he was a beast and he was a great penalty killer and he was a really strong, even strength player. And they may think, I want to see if we can get that performance out of Matthias Janmark in these playoffs. And they'll be tempted. I think it's going to be a moot point, Kurt, because someone's going to get hurt and then they'll both be in the game.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. It's seriously, like, it's not, we can talk about it, but it is academic. Okay, let's move on to our bad things. What's your bad thing?
My bad thing was Adam Henrik. And it pains me to say that because I like Adam Henrik. I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's a real solid NHL player. But he ended up on the wrong side of 2 pucks tonight,
He sure did.
and 2 St. Louis goals, and so it gives me no pleasure to point that out. But when you really break down the game, he was part of the poor coverage on the 2-2 goal.
Yeah.
The whole unit on that 2-2 goal was bad. But then he wasn't effective on the 3-3 sequence either. He was like on that 3-3 sequence, like Emberson had a chance to pin 3 different players and didn't. But Henrik didn't come as close to those 3 players as Emberson did. He kind of just skated in a circle, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. He's out there trying like everybody is. But at the end of the day, he didn't go to any point in that defensive zone that made a difference on that play.
I'm starting to get a little worried that he's a bit slow defensively, both on the PK and even strength. And now he can crank it up, and you can get a lot done by being a smart player on defense.
And he is.
But he was a step slow to the play, and he was a step slow in another recent game that we were talking about on a pass out that distorted everything. You know, Nurse was also on the second goal. Nurse was a little deep, I think. Like in retrospect, he misread the play. I think Stetcher had his man. He didn't have to cover for him. He could have been
his man. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to trust your teammate too, because it was kind of Nurse's man who shot the puck in, but Henrik allowed that pass over.
Yeah,
and
it looked to me like a communication issue between Nurse and Stetcher, if I had to guess.
Maybe it's happening very fast. There's probably no time to communicate. Like that was so fast.
Yeah.
But I thought Nurse got deep, and I don't mind Nurse deep. Like, is it, if he's playing more conservatively, that generally works. It didn't there.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Emberson, was really, he was weak out high and he was weak down low. Arvidsson also got beat on the boards, I thought, there on that third goal.
He did.
He kind of lost his man, and then Henrik was wandering a bit and just he failed to make the play as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's an interesting player. He really played well in the playoffs last year again, that whole line, Brown, Janmark.
Yeah, they were,
and
especially
Henrik.
in the late. Yeah, no, for sure.
So I think the Oilers, I think the coach might be thinking, let's go to that and see if that works. But, tonight was an encouraging night as far as Adam Henrik, but he's been pretty good all year.
He has been
pretty good.
Yeah, and he's still a reliable face-off man. Like he was 57% tonight. It's to me, when the game's on the line, you want either him or Draisaitl on the ice taking the face-offs, right? So it's So, but it wasn't his finest hour this evening. So
yeah, if he's your fourth line center, and I think he will be in the playoffs, I think they're going to go with Nuge as the third line center.
Yeah,
you have McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Henrik as your 4 centers.
That's a pretty tough spine.
I like that. That makes me happy as an Oilers fan.
Me too.
My bad thing is the sequence. It's essentially the referees on the first St. Louis goals, because
I love it when we pick on refs.
Well,
rightly
you know
so.
What? Maybe Bouchard might have been penalized on that one play on Cairo. It was a pretty hard. I think it was actually a legal play, but on that breakaway. But this play on Skinner, like first he gets clobbered off the face-off. Maybe the refs missed that. I mean, they might have been looking at other stuff. But
it was right in the head.
When he's trying to get back on the back check,
yeah.
When he's trying to get back on the back check, so he gives away the puck in the slot and he starts charging up the ice. I think he would have actually caught the guy. The play was fairly slow developing. Now maybe St. Louis would have sped up if they saw Skinner was close, but Skinner's sweater was just grabbed. Like that's like a soccer play, man. Like that's World Cup 1986. They've largely eliminated that in soccer. How? I don't believe that one of the refs didn't see that. They did. There's 2 refs out there. One of them saw that. It was so blatant. It was he just I don't think I've ever seen a more blatant grabbing of the sweater in the NHL in all the NHL games I've watched. It was so blatant. And how was that not called?
I hope Skinner got his 10 minutes worth.
I wonder what he said.
I don't know. I'm sure it was colorful to get 10.
They've got to call. They've got to see that. They've got to call that. And if they did see it and didn't call it, that's not right, because it's a 2-on-1 and he's trying to make the play. He would be so frustrated. First, muffing the puck, turning it over, and then not being stopped, grabbed from behind, so you can't even get back in the play. Oh, no wonder he was mad.
I have a little more time for the shot that they had, because it was right off a face-off. It was a bit of a scrum. He was tucked in a little bit. I mean, maybe you didn't see that, but and it wasn't even a jersey tug. It was a pull.
Grab, hold.
Like he may as well have lassoed him. It wouldn't have made any less difference. It was
a one steamboat.
Yeah.
It was really a one steamboat hold. Come on, they got to get that.
Yeah, I guess it's debatable whether he would have got back or not, but the guy who grabbed his sweater took any doubt away, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Kurt, your number.
My number, 10 and 9. So I guess it's two numbers, 10 and 9. 10 different Oilers have scored over the last 9 games. And I kind of alluded to it earlier. While it's great to have the two best players in the game on your team, if you're going to try and win a bunch of playoff games with only those two guys scoring, you're not going to win many playoff games. You need depth scoring. So 10 out of 9 is a very good sign. And we saw all kinds of depth scoring tonight. We saw Arvidsson, Podkolzin, who I agree with you, I just thought had a terrific game. He's a solid player, man.
Is he ever?
Right? There's not much to pick at with him. He doesn't do much wrong. And then Connor Brown, gets a couple of goals. He's a depth player as well. Like I have it in the headline of my story tonight. It's that Connor McDavid, timely goaltending, depth scoring were the significant differences in this game. So that's my number, 10 and 9.
Mine is 4 goals in 6 games. That's Victor Arvidsson, the Pirate.
Starting to look like the player we thought we were getting, hey, Dave?
Oh, I really liked Arvidsson in the playoffs last year for LA. I thought he might have been their best forward. He was just so pesky and dangerous. He is a good hockey player. I think he was injured earlier this year. He missed like a month. And I just think these players are many of them are battling injury all year or much of the year. When they finally get healthy, they finally start playing well. And it explains so much of their play. Why is someone struggling? Why aren't they the player they were last year? Well, they're hurt. Now, sometimes they can never get over that hurt, and they're never the same player. They're never as good. So you have, this is what happens, old, banged up, beat up hockey players. And they can't play in the NHL anymore. So you have to worry about that. But Arvidsson finally does look like he's getting healthy, moving well. As Jack and Louie were saying on the broadcast, he's not muffing his one-timers anymore. He's getting them on net. He scored. It was he drove a great one-timer on net off actually Henrik won the battle, and Emberson, two guys that we were criticizing earlier, made a beautiful pass over to Arvidsson, who almost slammed it in. But just before that, he scored on the outside shot from Kulak. So 4 goals in 6 games. He's got 14 now this year, I believe. So 63 games. He's starting to get it together. And what a great thing that would be. Oof. If 2 whipping boys of various factions, people, coaches, whoever, Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, bring their best games in the playoffs. It happened with Connor Brown last year. He came alive, and he was so strong in the playoffs. People were rooting for Connor Brown more last year than they actually. Well, Skinner actually has quite a large vocal group of fans.
He does.
Arvidsson, not so much. Although I will say, I've never left his camp, because I've seen a responsible defensive player and someone who's creating a lot on the attack. A lot of him not scoring was just poor puck luck as well. So injury, poor puck luck come together. He's been a dangerous player all year. He's helped create a lot of scoring chances all year long. He's been a solid defender. Now the puck's finally starting to go into the net. And yeah, that'd be great if he can bring it together just now.
Well, I think Jeff Jackson has been fairly criticized for some of the free agent signings in the offseason, but I would really be trying to pull the wool over people's eyes if I said I didn't think that the Arvidsson signing was a great signing back when it happened. I was totally in favor of that. Like you, I've watched this guy be a thorn in the side of the Oilers for a long time. I've just
From Nashville.
Yeah, I love how gritty he is. He plays way bigger than he is. Got a great shot. It's highly competitive, and I thought, oh boy, I'm excited to have this guy in the lineup. And then he just didn't look like the same player that we'd been watching play against Edmonton all that time until lately. So I'm with you. If he's coming around, that'll be a very good thing indeed.
All righty. Are we done for tonight? Any final thoughts, Kurt?
My final thought is Calvin Pickard, who is the Oilers nominee for the Bill Masterton Trophy. With his victory tonight, he goes to 21-9-1 on the year. And
Wow.
Less than 2 years ago, you would have been forgiven for saying that Calvin Pickard would never play another NHL game because he was signed to split duty in Bakersfield, right? And so big stop in the final seconds tonight, which had a direct result on the winning goal. All this guy does is win for this team when they put him in there. And where would the Oilers be this season without Cal Pickard? And we said the same thing about him last year.
Yeah, I remember when he was signed, just looking at his save percentage, like he had been under 900 for forever, since like the last 6 years. And I was thinking, why did they sign him? And even like at the trade deadline, I was hoping they would bring in another goalie, but he has really played well. It's to the point where there is a goalie controversy in Edmonton. It's uncertain who they'll start in the playoffs at this point if Skinner doesn't come back and play really well. But this is a good feeling. This is fantastic that you could go with Pickard. I mean, he's got a .901 save percentage, which is league average. So for a backup goalie making whatever he makes, $1 million, whatever it is a year, that's pretty darn good for a backup goalie to have the league average. Because then you hope your starter's like, above league average. Stu Skinner isn't, is the trouble. But it gives me a lot more confidence heading into the playoffs. Like, yeah, I think if they need to go with Cal Pickard, they'll do it in a second. Like it won't be like last year where they waited a game even too long and then they pulled him out a game too early. It's felt like after he played well, but they'll just go to him quick, and they should, because he's not Dominic Hasek, but he battles, and he hasn't let in any weak ones in a long time.
And I think his teammates play awfully hard in front of him.
They did tonight. Man, that was I just really enjoyed that game. I haven't enjoyed Oilers games. It's been about a month where I just haven't really enjoyed it. Seemed like, geez, this is just a drag. Like these games just are.
Yeah.
It's not exciting. It's not fun to watch them, but that was super fun.
And, yeah, that's fair, because this one was entertaining tonight. I enjoyed myself. So.
Alrighty, Kurt, are you done the game grades or?
No, they'll be up in.
Okay. I'll let you get to work then. So thank you for talking tonight, Kurt.
My pleasure.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. And till we meet again, our friend Bruce McCurdy in the halls of our fathers, having a drink with the hockey gourds. Good night, Bruce. Good night, Kurt.